I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review, and this is a Patreon review for Richard, who wanted my thoughts on The Way of the Gun from 2000. Now, this is a film I had heard of for quite a few years, and it's directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Now, this is the guy that wrote The Usual Suspects. He would go on to direct. Sorry, my body decided to go against me because sadly, with The Usual Suspects, well, it's got Kevin Spacey and stuff going on with him. I don't want to get into that. But the writer of that film would go on to direct films like Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, Mission Impossible Fallout, Jack Reacher, all films I did enjoy. And The Way of the Gun is like a crime drama. The script has, I thought, elements that reminded me a little bit of a Tarantino type of dialogue. Definitely the dialogue, the script is one of the stronger points of this film. What an action scene happens is well filmed, especially in the finale. It stars Ryan Phillippe in one of his better roles, and Benicio del Toro. You also have Juliette Lewis, her dad Jeffrey Lewis, James Caan, who is great in this, Taye Diggs. Pretty stellar cast. And Ryan Phillippe, I'm not a big Ryan Phillippe guy. I'm not 100% sure about his accent that he does in this movie, but I don't think he does a bad job in this. And Benicio del Toro's great. Like I said, James Caan's wonderful in this. And the dialogue, I mean, in the first 5 minutes of the film, and this is a line that is almost infamous on YouTube, because when people talk about lines in movies, this usually pops up, is Ryan Phillippe and Benicio del Toro. They're one place and there's like a party nearby. And actually Sarah Silverman, she's mouthing off, calling him gay, all this stuff. And Ryan Phillippe says, and I'm quoting him, so don't get mad, "You shut that cunt's mouth or I'll come over there and foot start her head." And it's like, that's not dialogue you usually hear. Shut that cunt's mouth or I'll come over there and fuck start her head. And then she keeps talking and he fucking smacks her face. Not really our typical heroes. They're not really heroes at all. And again, way to make first impressions of a movie. But the dialogue definitely kept me interested in the film. When they're both trying to make a little bit of money and you see each of them talking to the same doctor. And Benicio del Toro keeps fucking with the doctor. So it'll go to Ryan Phillippe, have a conversation. And then when it goes back to del Toro and the doctor talking, the doctor's like, "No one brings up such dead people." And del Toro goes, "Of course they don't, it's sick." And then he goes, you brought it up. And Del Toro goes, yeah, to say I never did it. And the doctor says, but I never asked. And they did a much better job in the movie than I'm making it out to be. But their dialogue, the delivery of the dialogue, later on when Ryan Phillippe is talking about, well, what if we die, and what if we talk to God, and what we don't say in our defense, and then Del Toro goes, you wanna know what I'll tell God when I see him? I'm gonna tell him I was framed. Really well done dialogue, really well written script. And the plot of the film is these two guys decide to kidnap this pregnant lady played by Juliette Lewis. They kidnap her from her, she was with her bodyguards, one of them is Taye Diggs. The shootouts are pretty decently done. You tell that the actors had to study tactics, the way they move and use the guns, and okay, at that point, change the clip. It's not cold bullets. It's not, oh, this gun clip has 85 bullets in it. They seem to keep tabs on that fairly well. In the finale, when they're in this, like a brothel, or anyways, someplace, and the way they're moving in and out of rooms, checking corners, it's not half-assed. Like I say, they take her, Taye Diggs and the other bodyguard go back to the guy, because the whole thing they find out is that Juliette Lewis is a surrogate mother for this money launderer whose wife can't get pregnant, or his girlfriend can't get pregnant, so they would don't pay Juliette Lewis to have this baby and then give it to them. And then those guys did James Caan, who is a bag man, and James Caan plays a very interesting character who seems like he comes off a different movie, and I mean that in a good way. Like, you could tell there's a lot of backstory, of history I should say, a lot of history to this character, just the way he talks, his demeanor, and how one of the first things he says is, God, I'm trying to think, because I really did enjoy the scene. Sometimes it's not, I can't remember all the dialogue. But he talk about how, you know, all you see is a broken down old man. Oh no, the only thing you can assume of a broken down old man is that he's a survivor. I thought that was a good line. Or, I promise you a day of reckoning that you will not live long enough to never forget. At the end of this, strongest point of this film is the script. I really gotta give credit to that. And scenes like when James Caan finds them and him and Del Toro have a cup of coffee and they're just talking about criminals of today and how they're more about shooting and posturing, and they want to be criminals more than commit the crimes, and like there's a certain respect, but at the same time they know things are probably not going to end well. And then you get to the third act. Spoiler alert, spoilers. You find out James Caan is actually Juliette Lewis's dad, so there's a personal stake in this. And Taye Diggs wants the money for his own, for this other stuff, the ransom money that the guy was going to pay, so he wants to take it, and then they gotta fight Taye Diggs, and then at the end there's a big shootout, nice blood squibs, and Ryan Phillippe and Del Toro has been shot, and paying a bit more attention, just actually went back, I'm like, wait a minute, James Caan wounds them. He doesn't outright kill them when he could, he wounds them. Now granted, our two characters are probably going to die from blood loss. I think that's the assumption, they die from blood loss. But he didn't outright kill them, he just wounded them. They're able to talk and say some words, and you know, he gets his daughter, and this doctor who is the real father of the baby. I'm assuming that we're supposed to assume, I know that's like, what? Is that a sentence? That our two characters are going to die. Because there's this whole monologue about how, we didn't ask for forgiveness, this and that. I don't know if it's supposed to make the little assumption that perhaps they lived because James' wounds only give them more wounds, but again, with the amount of bullets they have, anyway, they don't really make it. On one hand, they're not angels, and the way it was done, it didn't make me mad. Like, the way it was done, I thought it was handled the right way, with the acting, with the slow kind of devolve into that, and that James Caan, like, this was his daughter, but he didn't just outright kill them and was malicious. He wounded, I don't know, just the way it was done, I thought was handled. If you don't do this type of ending, I thought it was handled the right way in this instance. Now, granted, I don't have a lot of issues. One review said, oh yeah, the first 30 minutes is a big old action-packed bloodbath. And I'm like, what movie did you see? No, it's not. So I read that review. Because sometimes I look up a couple reviews to see what I'm getting myself into. I don't know what the fuck movie they saw, because that's not the case here. I mean, it's one of those films that is a crime drama action film with a pretty damn good script, pretty good performances. Again, Ryan Phillippe's accent I'm not sure about, because sometimes it sounds like he wants to have like a Boston accent or what the hell accent. I'm not 100% sold on that. Part of me wonders if he just didn't do that accent at all, maybe it would be a better performance. I don't know. Maybe it'd be worse. I don't know. But yeah, James Caan, his character is very interesting. He's a little bit mysterious, a little bit of history to him. Getting the reveal that he's Juliette Lewis's dad was interesting. And as he says, when you see a broken down old man, it means that he's a survivor, and that's true here. And I thought the director, part of me wonders it's a bit uneven, because I do think in the middle of the film, it does slow down. After they take in Juliette Lewis and they get to this motel and they're kind of waiting at the motel. I thought it slowed down a bit too much during that. And so, I don't know, maybe a little bit of editing or something of that nature could have happened. But it didn't bother me too much, because you get stuff like, we're not talking how long you live, hon. We're talking how slow you die. I know I keep repeating myself, but I got a real kick out of the dialogue and the script of this. And again, I thought the actors, for the most part, did their jobs well. Like, there's one bit where they're playing cards, the two of them and Juliette Lewis, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the way they're describing the cards, they're like, if you sacrifice and hold on to your hearts, and then you lose. I'm like, okay, is this foreshadowing, like, sacrifice, hearts as in heart? Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but when you listen to that, it seems, I'm guessing it's on purpose, because they're focusing so much on the words. Like, with this type of director who was nominated for awards for The Usual Suspect script, he's not going to just put in them randomly talking about fucking cars. So, no, I don't think I'm looking too much into it. But yeah, maybe on the flip side, some people go, that's a bit too on the nose. But I thought that was rather clever, a scene like that. And once in a while, there's a little bit of a sense of humor that was fun. And like Taye Diggs, I've never minded Taye Diggs. I liked him in the House on Haunted Hill remake. He was in this TV show that sadly only lasted one season, but it called Daybreak. Very underrated show. And actually has an ending, so you can watch it just as a one-shot. I said it only had one season, but it had an actual ending, so you can look at it as like one long movie. But I did enjoy that. He did a good job. I mean, I'm just repeating myself, so I'll just end it here. Wave of the Gun, did not mind at all. It's a movie where apparently the director was trying to do other projects. He couldn't get anything into the door. And then Benicio del Toro, who had worked on The Usual Suspects, he was one of the actors, said, hey, how come you're not writing your own movie? Write something small. Which led to the guy writing and then directing this. And I don't think the film did much, but it's sort of become a cult film. It's a movie that you do hear people mention from time to time. And I can see why. It's a movie that... it's at the very least pretty damn interesting. Juliette Lewis, I'm not a big Juliette Lewis fan, I will admit. There are times I don't mind her from Dusk Till Dawn, for example. But sometimes I just look at her and go, couldn't there have been another actress? But she's not the worst thing here. I mean, she's not. It's just, there are points I'm like, can't there be another person than Juliette Lewis? But you know, I mean, that's just a little nitpick thing. With that said, I did enjoy the film. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We will see you guys later. Bye-bye.